In this show, we are joined by Mike Pesca of The Gist, the ideal person to assist us in this endeavor. Well, of course, except for all of you, because thanks to our trusty producer, Trace Crutchfield, you can ask questions and be part of the show. We would love to have you. But first, our main topic, our initial topic, can the NBA save the WNBA? Whew. That's a subversive question in many quarters, just to suggest that the WNBA might need saving. And you know what? It might be too heavy a lift for the NBA. Even if there is this eagerly anticipated Game 7 of the finals, which we will discuss, many people have noticed that the production value has been maybe cheap, maybe tawdry. The nostalgia is not there for the NBA. They have lost half their viewership audience for these big events, so maybe they're beleaguered. Why should they be pulled in to help the WNBA, as I have suggested on my Substack? Now, one of my subscribers on the House of Strauss Substack had a rebuttal when I said that the NBA should come in and bring some order to the WNBA, and it was fairly crude, but I think you'll like it. So let me read it right here. A stray shot of sperm has endowed the WNBA with organic growth, garnering the true emotional attachment of new fans. So let's rush in with the exact same corporate vampires who drained every ounce of human attachment from their current responsibility. Yeah, that's fair. But my short answer is that at least the WNBA, at least the NBA, understands itself as a business, whereas the WNBA seems to understand itself and has conceived of itself for a long time as almost a nonprofit. So much so that when Caitlyn Clark arrives, instead of just being overjoyed by the attention and opportunities to make money, there is a widespread resentment within that institution towards her. And so now you're seeing the NBA start to get a little bit frustrated, and they want to rein it in. And I hear this behind the scenes. I hear that the NBA is not happy about this. They don't like seeing Caitlyn Clark get smacked around, manhandled, or handled, I should say, literally out there, because she is the golden goose, and that's something that they are interested in. And whatever you can say about the NBA, I do think they understand business to a degree. I do think they are invested in the idea of promoting stardom. So right now, they've been operating under this quasi-fiction that this is a separate league. It's kind of under their umbrella, but we don't really run it. And I don't know if that's going to do. They might need to do something different. So let's bring on Mike Pesca to discuss whether the NBA should get involved here, whether Adam Silver should get involved here to prevent Caitlyn Clark from getting smacked up. The only time Caitlyn Clark should get smacked up is symbolically and not literally, as she happened to have happened to her. Oh, that's quite a sentence I've said. As happened to her by the hand of my local Valkyries. Mike Pesca, nice to have you on.
The only time Caitlyn Clark should get smacked up is at the service of someone looking to get a Substack audience, let's say, or AM radio.
Indeed.
By the way, who are we, literally everyone on this planet, to denigrate the idea of one lucky sperm getting through? This explains us all.
I just like how it was put. So vulgar and yet so arresting. What a comment. And what a point. I'm suggesting it. I like asking the questions that are out there that are maybe a little taboo for whatever reason. The elephant in the room. The elephant in the room to me, Mike, is that Adam Silver is grousing in these comments, and he's not doing it overtly, but there are these just little, I would have, liked to have seen her on the Team USA basketball team, but it's not my job. And I'd like, fairness for... I just realized that my voice for Adam Silver sounds a little bit like the Ben Shapiro imitation of Bernie Sanders, but that's neither here nor there.
Is he going to order soup? Ben Shapiro can't do it without Bernie sending back the soup.
I don't think Silver's voice, I don't think his accent is that thick, but there's something happening behind the scenes. And this is a little dangerous to get into without accusing anybody of anything. I said it on my Substack. There was a story out there about how poor the ratings were without Caitlyn Clark for the WNBA. And I happen to believe that story came from the league office. I can't prove it, but just based on where the story ended up, how the writer wasn't somebody who typically ever talks about these things, how the information seemed a bit proprietary, it looks like there's some angst from the NBA side with how the WNBA is handling things. Do they deserve to handle things better given how they've handled the league? What do you say, Mike?
Yeah, they definitely do. Adam Silver, you convinced me, or you make the good case with pointing to the fact that the USA Today writer almost never writes about the WNBA. He's extremely well sourced with the league. These numbers, this is a huge frustration for me. They only put out numbers when they're good.
Mm.
So it's, and it's not just the officialdom of the leagues. I guess it's their right to do that, but they definitely control information. So we get some information out that cuts against the kumbaya narrative of the WNBA commissioner. Yeah, it does. It's enough to raise eyebrows. And Adam Silver, you know what he sounds like when he says, well, it's not my job to say. He sounds like a good Democratic president talking about the Justice Department, right? Well, I'm not really allowed
a
to go in there.
Democratic official talking about Joe Biden in
Yeah,
2024.
separation of church and state. They do what they do. But of
Mm.
course, the WNBA was run more like a charitable organization. Or, okay, maybe if that has a sheen of disrespect coming from me, a literal nonprofit, or a nonprofit is supposed to have zero balance on the books, a perennial loss of profit, and always had been, and different owners. I'm pretty sure this is true. There's no way that any of the owners of the team actually turned a profit per se. And then Caitlyn Clark comes along and the NBA, and you make this point, they're at least a profit making organization. That's what they know how to do. And it strikes them as insane to insanely strike Caitlyn Clark. All the commenters online in that Fever game where she was getting pre-Valkyries, where she was getting smacked around, like, what NBA star ever gets treated like this? And the answer is sometimes Shaquille O'Neal, but never a wing. So, and I don't mean that like a Dallas wing. Yeah.
And I think that is more the result. It's less the result of the ambient hatred towards her in the league, because you'll see that played up in certain media outlets, and that's there. There is resentment towards her, but it's really, I think, more about the officials. And
yeah, that's the point. And that's the one that implicates Silver, right? He could pay more for the officials.
Yeah, you could actually run this like a whole league instead of a line item where you're just trying to save money, because it's almost like an outgrowth of NBA cares. And so I just love this topic because this thing has exploded. It's now an object of national interest. People are making the argument that Caitlyn Clark, when Steph and LeBron retire, is going to be the biggest American sports star. And it's this environment where many of the players, whereas I do think they want more money, they didn't necessarily want it to be a business with all that comes from it. And same with some of the NBA owners who run these teams. The Valkyries, aforementioned, are doing well. And what I'm hearing from the Warriors people who run the Valkyries is there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, because these NBA owners never really conceived of themselves as actually running this thing, or this was just kind of, again, it's a line item. So in a way, it's almost like nobody from either side wanted this to become a business, but in Jurassic Park fashion, life finds a way, Mike.
Yeah, Caitlyn Clark opening the doorknobs, amazing, Velociraptor-esque.